cloud the Father's voice is heard. This is my beloved Son. Hear him.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. And then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Transfiguration. You want transfiguration? Take a look at these 3 pictures. This is what the Crafton Hills look like, typically. This is how they looked earlier this week. If you didn't get a chance to drive over Sand Canyon by the college, do it before it's too late. It's an amazing thing to see. God at his creative best. It's quite a transfiguration, and I think it would be a wonderful hike. Today is Transfiguration Sunday, when the whole church remembers and celebrates the greatest hike ever taken. The gospel accounts differ in their details, so it's not clear to us just what did happen up on that mountaintop. But what strikes us as most important is the confirmation of the divine sonship of Jesus, the unveiling of his glory. And what a vision those 3 disciples had. Jesus, their friend, their teacher, standing before them in all that divine light, flanked by 2 of Israel's greatest heroes. No wonder Peter was so awestruck, so much so that he wanted to prolong the heavenly experience. Because it's all about hope. Hope that what the disciples were soon to experience, and the hope that our existence will be transfigured soon into something better. On that day on Mount Tabor, the transfiguration of Jesus was, for Peter, James, and John, a sign of hope that the dark days ahead would witness a transformation like none other. Holy Father phrased it this way on this day last year. 2 times reference is made in this passage of the Gospel to the beauty of Jesus as God, of Jesus illuminated, of Jesus full of joy and life. First in the vision, he was transfigured in front of them, in front of the disciples. His face shone like the sun. His garments became as white as light. Jesus is transformed. He's transfigured. The second time, while they were going down from the mountain, Jesus ordered them not to speak of this vision before he was risen from the dead. In the resurrection, Jesus will have a face luminous and bright, and it will be like that. Between this beautiful transfiguration and that of the resurrection, there will be another face of Jesus. There will be a face that's not so beautiful. There will be an ugly face, disfigured, tortured, despised, bloodied. Jesus' entire body is like something to throw away. The 2 transfigurations, and in the middle is Jesus crucified on the cross. So in order to prepare his disciples not to be scandalized by seeing him like this on the cross, he did the transfiguration to give them hope. And that's the message for us here and now today, that there is always, always hope. You know, the saddest, sorriest people that I've ever encountered are those who do not have any hope in their lives. For whatever reason, they don't share the same vision that we do of Christian hope. Hope is developed and strengthened when we stand in God's grace. Our earthly desire is to avoid trials and struggles. Indeed, we tend to measure the quality of our salvation by our lack of problems. Hope is not measured by the lack of trials in our lives, but by what we learn about Jesus through those trials. Suffering produces endurance, and endurance builds up our character. The knowledge that Jesus has successfully led us through these trials before reminds us that he will do it again. This confidence in God's provision is the kind of hope which does not lead to disappointment. Listen to this verse from 2 Corinthians. Therefore, we are not discouraged. Rather, although our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this momentary light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to what is seen, but to what is unseen. For what is seen is transitory, but what is unseen is eternal. God wills to give us the vision and the strength that we need. The vision and strength to face the challenges and fears in our lives. The vision and strength we need to respond to the call of God to challenge ourselves, perhaps to rethink some beliefs, to live beyond ourselves, to live lives of sacrifice and courage and hope. And all of this until the glory of the transfigured Christ settles on us, not for just one quick peek, but forever. And the road ahead is the way of the cross. The transfiguration was for the disciples, and is for us, an opening, a window, which sheds light on Jesus and reveals his identity. You know, some of you may remember the words spoken by Dr. King in his address the night before he was assassinated. He said, "I have been to the mountaintop, my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." See, so whether it's Peter or John or James or Dr. King or us, the meaning of the transfiguration is perhaps best described as one of those aha moments. Those amazing, inspirational mountaintop events which allow us to see and understand and experience as we never have before. When the truly marvelous enters our lives, are we not as amazed and surprised as Peter was? Are we even thinking of the astonishing and transfiguring experience we'll celebrate before this hour is out? Of course, I'm referring to the moment in the here and now when Jesus will offer himself in sacrifice for his Father under the appearance of bread and wine, so that we too may offer ourselves out of love for him. In the weeks to come, we'll be reminded that our Lord did not go straight from baptism to heaven. He went out into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And we'll remember that he walked the path of suffering for us, that he prayed for us, that he fought the spiritual fight for us, that he bled and died for us. During Lent, we'll remember that God has made the way of the cross to be the way of life and peace, and that our destiny is joined to Christ's destiny. The glimpse of Jesus' glory that the disciples and we are granted today on the Holy Mountain is just a foretaste of heaven. As we begin the disciplined walk of faith and devotion on our Lenten journey, we remember that this glory of God that is calling to us, and we picture ourselves shining like the sun in our own transfiguration, living in hope, always. And Easter will be the end of this walk of faith, its goal. Everything we do in Lent brings us a step closer to the joys of Easter. On the mountain of the Transfiguration, we get just a taste of those sweet, eternal joys, and we take strength from them, Christ's strength, on this road to the great day of the resurrection.